It's been over a year since I made 100 tips and tricks video. I've put well over 1,000 Fortnite tips on my channel, so I needed to take a break, but now we are back at it. By playing with some of the best pros in the game and learning from the best coaches, I'm gonna share everything I know in this video. The only thing I ask is to look down below in the description and check out my Reload Realistics map. It's duos, and by the time you're watching this, we probably have a solo one as well. People have been really liking this. It's Realistics, but Reload version. As of right now, no one has a map like this on creative. This is the code, and this is what the thumbnail looks like. Go check it out. These are gonna be all the tips I wish I knew before I started playing Fortnite. Let's get into it by starting out with the basics. The first thing you want to do before playing is to make sure that your settings are right. No matter what you play on, if you're looking to get better at the game, turn on visual sound effects. It basically lets you see where enemies are, and pros use this all the time, and they always sometimes even look at it the entire duration while they're build fighting someone. And if you're on PC, make sure to turn on performance mode, please. The other thing you want to do for your setup is turn on preferred item slots. You don't want to be in the middle of a fight and pull out your mini instead of your shotgun because you have your stuff in the wrong slot. If you're on controller, make sure your shotgun's in the first slot. That's all that matters. If you're on keyboard, literally put it to whatever you want. It doesn't matter which one is which. I have my tutorial about the best keybinds down below. It's a little old, but I made sure to optimize the hell out of my keybind. Or for controller, I'll have that down below too. One of the biggest advantages you can have in an off-spawn fight in Fortnite is to be able to land first. Even if you never land at a location before and you have no idea where the best drop is, here's a couple key things that you can keep in mind for every drop. First, always look for water nearby. More times than not, that's going to be the best bet. Water has the lowest spots on the map and will get you the lowest drop. If there isn't any water, look for the flattest part possible. And typically it's about 200 to 300 meters away from where you want to land. The best thing to do when you get outdropped is to remember where that person dropped so that you can go into the next game and get it down yourself. On that same note, you want to scout where you're landing. Try to minimize the amount you look completely behind you because that will slow down your movement. And look at other enemies' drops to see if they're lower than you, because then you're going to get smoked and die. You also want to look on a weapon to land as well. You can mark things in the air, so that way you can tell exactly what it is, even if it isn't rendered in yet. When I'm in a fight, I always want to make sure I'm shooting my opponent on the right side of my character and setting up those peaks. Fortnite is a third-person game, and the camera angle is set up to be on the right shoulder. That's exactly why it's rare that you're going to see a pro try to go for a left-hand peek. You can use your builds or edits to set up these peaks, or you can simply hide behind natural things that are in the game as well. This one's basic, but you could see through your cone when you hold your edit button. Every pro does this when they're boxed up. This is super helpful when you're playing tournaments and you're looking to see who's around you before you make the rotate. Everyone jokes about play to win skins, but it actually matters. Bigger skins occupy more of your screen space, so the smaller it is, the better it is, because you're gonna have more visibility. That's why you see pros mostly rock female skins, because typically they're the skinniest. The character model is smaller, and even though the hitbox is the same, there's more of you to see. Skins that are reactive or animated always hurt your performance. Now, I know you're a noob, so in box fights, always make sure there's a cone in your box. The first thing players do when they fight someone without a cone in their box is shove one in there themselves as they fight you. At first, it's a little weird, but trust me, get used to it. It will help you more than you think. The order that you build a box matters. It's important to get the muscle memory down, because the best time to build the box is when you're panicked. There's not a perfect way to do it, but what I like to do is place a wall in front of me, floor cone, and then swing around with walls to finish it up. Typically, I place the wall first in the direction I'm getting shot from. That way, I'm not exposed for too long. What you could do is even move your crosshair down while you're placing walls, so that way they're placed directly in front of you. If not, you're going to place walls outside where you want your box to be. That's why you want to look down when you do it. Another setting you should change are the power saving ones. It makes almost no difference, so you can turn all these off. But I promise that it does help the game's performance. I know building is hard at first, so let me add something to that. You need to be able to switch materials type easily. Brick and metal have more HP than wood. So when you're getting pressured and need to heal, make sure you're using your hard mat so that gives you more time to heal up. You can practice switching mats while free building. That's probably the best way to do that. Here are 2 tips to use when you take a lot of damage. First, you want to put space in between yourself and the opponent. So that means building a tunnel just like this. I'm going to show you in slow motion as I'm building this tunnel so you can kind of see exactly what I'm placing first and not just spamming it all at one time. If you're ever learning something on Fortnite, start out slow. The second tip is that more than likely you're going to need to get damage on your opponent before you're able to heal, because if not, they're just going to pressure you. You need to punish them while they're being too aggressive. More than not, it's probably going to be a pre-fire that saves you in this situation, and you're going to be able to get your heals off. When you're playing a game on Fortnite, you should know what loadout that you want. This will save you time when you're looting an early game, or even after you get a kill and all the loot drops in front of your face. Sometimes you're going to be in a rush. Instead of standing there and thinking about what to hold, you're already going to know it because you watched this video. If you ever don't know what loadout to hold, it's simple. Just watch a pro, and they're probably going to be carrying the best one every time. 99% of the time, that's what you want to hold to. When I'm hitting a wall with my pickaxe, I know that it's 75 damage. The second time, it does 150 when you hit the circle. Wood walls are only 150 HP, so 2 smacks of a pickaxe will get you right in the box. So if you see a player in a wood box, you're going to be able to fight them pretty quick, which is probably why you get keyed. Not every wall is going to be wood, and even if it is, you don't want to stand in the front of it and pickaxe like a noob. What you could do is hit once, then back up, and you can hit the circle further away than if you were to just try to hit the wall normally. Pros will often hit the wall once, then back up to try to hit the circle from a better angle. This is great for metal and brick walls when you know you're going to have to hit them a few times. You can also take a wall faster when it's edited. A normal brick wall has 300 HP when it's fully built, but if the wall isn't fully built and then it gets edited, it's going to be one pickaxe swing. This works for any kind of build. For example, a player boxing up in front of me, I wait for them to edit, then immediately swing my pickaxe or shoot my shotgun, and I take the wall back. This won't work if the wall is fully built though. Here's 2 for my keyboard and mouse players. The best one is to make sure that you're using scroll wheel reset. It's the best way to reset your builds, hands down. Go into your settings, then your bind. Look for building edit and set mouse scroll wheel up for the second bind. Then go to reset building edit and put the same bind again. This will allow you to reset a build just by scrolling up on your mouse. Make sure your scroll wheel isn't a frictionless one because you only need to move 2 clicks on your scroll wheel to do the action. Any more than that might get you stuck in an edit. The other setting you should change is turning on your diagonal movement. This is basically controller movement for keyboard players. I use a joystick. If you want the one I have, it's going to be linked down below in the description. So I technically have controller movement, but I'm going to show you Jiven's keyboard settings for his diagonal movement because he's crazy at the game as well. You want to use gliders that you stand on, and here's why. The animation makes it a little more difficult to get shot out of the air, and you're harder to see when they physically can't see your body. Everyone used to use the dragon one, but there's so many options. If you're really confused on what to use, just look at some pros and see what they use. Most of them are clunky and take up space without really adding anything in return. Try to use small ones so that way your vision really isn't affected. For my controller players, here's a few settings that you should change. First, turn your edit hold time all the way down. You don't want any delay when doing any sort of editing. If your edit button is on the same thing as something else, you should probably change it. Next, turn off vibration. It's a cool feature, but it's just gonna hurt you because you don't want anything messing up your aim while you're holding your controller. That's just stupid. The only thing, it just might feel good for some people. The other setting goes back to preferred item slots. You want your shotgun in the first slot. That way, when you press your switch mode button, it's gonna be the first thing that you pull out. Then you either put your spray weapon in the second slot or the last slot. Chances are it goes shotgun, AR, and then SMG in the last slot, and then heals or whatever in the middle. Pro players put their sprays in either or, so do whatever the hell you want. You can watch any pro's gameplay from replay mode. All you need to do is click on the compete tab, find a tournament that they played in, then just simply find their name. When you click on them, it pulls up their match history, and click on one with the highest amount of kills or a win, and you can get into that game and see it. I used to watch pros all the time while learning how to rotate and get better at the game. The only thing that might be better than this is literally watching their stream because you can see in real time what it looks like without any sort of lag or anything from the replay mode. You want to be in different spots in your box depending on what edit you make. For example, when I make a window edit, I want to be right up next to the wall. That way I can strafe over while taking the shot and barely be exposed. The same goes for this thing called a peanut butter edit. You want to be right up next to the wall and try to jump towards the top left of the box. When you make any sort of wide edit that leaves you completely exposed, you want to hang towards the back of your box. And you can combine these edits while placing a cone in your box for a peek behind the cone. All you got to do is sit back in the cone like this, and it's going to be really hard for them to see you. Ramps are the fastest way to protect your back. Say you're running away from a player behind you. Instead of turning around the build, you could just look straight down, place a stair, and it blocks your back. Just make sure you're in the right spot, because if not, you're going to be ending up running on the stair and not go under it. If you're looking at a floor, make sure you're more than halfway, and then the ramp is going to place on top of your head. Every object is going to give you a different amount when you farm it. Try to remember the things that give you the most per pickaxe swing, because that's how you know you're getting the most value out of it. It's going to save you time. This will help you spend less time on farming, 1, be more fun, get you in more fights, and 2, you're going to save time when you rotate. Pro players create specific loot routes for their drop. They don't just land and try to randomly run around and collect chests. They go from one to another, even remembering to hit weapon boxes. Obviously, you don't need to do this in any normal game, but you should at least have some sort of strategy to know exactly what to loot. That way, it's super fast and you're going to have an advantage. Follow that similar path every time and you're going to win more fights, especially off spawn. It's all little things that these pros have mastered down that really affect their gameplay. Did you know that you can see whether a player is building or editing just by looking at their character? You can read players' movement this way just by looking at them. And it's very easy to see when a player has their pickaxe, their weapon, or even their blueprints out. But did you ever notice that the pencil moves when a player is making an edit. You can also see where they're looking, and over time, you're going to know exactly what edit they're trying to make. Your shotgun bind should be the easiest one to press. If you can't move in every direction and still pull out your pickaxe, then there's probably a problem. Your most important bind shouldn't be limited by other things that you also have to do in fights, and especially the weapon that you use most often. So find a bind that's perfect for your shotgun that doesn't interfere with anything else. Common ones are the side buttons on your mouse, even the scroll wheel, or a bind on your pointer finger. There's a lot of players that don't use edit on release. Although I recommend it, you should always try to confirm the edit with your crosshair in the position you want it to be when you complete the edit and confirm it. Let's say I want to make a 4-tile edit and shoot the opponent on the other side of this wall. I should edit the tiles like this so that way my crosshair is lined up with the person I'm looking to shoot. This is also going to help you with your double and triple edits, because when you're editing multiple things back to back, your crosshair placement is going to be in the perfect spot to place the following build. Creative mode is going to be your best friend. It's good to get in-game practice all the time, but creative is the best way to do it because you get fast reps in that way. And there is literally a map for anything you can think about. Dive in TV and Raider 464 have the best solo training maps. For example, in Raiders Mechanics version 5 map, there is a scenario for everything that you will ever need on Fortnite. And no, I'm dead serious. He literally thought of everything. That's where you want to start if you want to become a mechanical demon. There's also this sick map called Ken Bean's Speed Realistics. This is a 1v1 map where you can practice in-game fighting and getting launched right onto someone's wall and fighting like literally right away. Also, if you plan on playing Reload, I got the Reload covered for you too. The maps are going to be down below in the description. Just like there's a map for everything, there's a YouTube tutorial for everything. Fortnite's been out for so long. If there's a question you have by now, just literally YouTube it. It will show up. If not, you should make it. You're going to get millions of views. Let's say I want to win more 1v1s. Type how to win more 1v1s in Fortnite. It will show up. I mean, it's literally that simple. Dive in TV and me have made so many tip videos. I mean, I don't know how I can make any more, yet I'm still doing it right now. I can't say every video is going to be as crazy good as mine, which is why you should drop a like, but you got to use those resources and just figure out what you can. This was something I did all the time when I was just getting started. I'm going to build floors, then just place a wall and edit through it. And I'm just going to keep repping that out. You can always skip some walls in between if it gets too hard for you. Space it out more. Then once you get comfortable doing that, you should add in a stair in the mix. It's more importantly to do it properly rather than doing it fast. Once you get muscle memory down, then you can try to go faster. As a beginner, a lot of these drills are going to seem useless, but I promise you it's so important to learn the button pressing in your head. If you get caught in a fight and you realize you don't know what to do, you should hop in creative and do that exact move over and over. The next thing you should practice in creative is called a waterfall. The name might throw you off, but it's because the builds literally look like a waterfall. Pros use this all the time in zone wars when they play. It's when you're really high up and you need to drop down in elevation the fastest way possible. Make sure your walls are out and fall down, and make sure you're holding turbo build and the walls will build with you. Then place a ramp or cone every third wall so you don't take fall damage. Just like this, then edit the stair of the cone and do the same thing again. This is one of those moves you should be able to do really quickly because when you're under pressure and getting chopped out, you're going to need to do this fast. Another move that you need to be able to do is the protected ramp rush. You're building a floor and a wall for extra protection, and here's what it looks like. Ramp, floor, wall. The order of this is important, and usually I place the walls last because sometimes when I ramp rush, I want to protect my left and right side, so I can just extend the walls out to those sides. To get better at it, try tack sprinting in between each ramp so that way you speed up your movement and you get to the top faster. Your cone has the furthest reach out of any build. So if you're in a build fight, you should look to use those cones as protection and also to cut off people that are build fighting you. The reach is about 1.5 tiles away, so if you have high ground, you can cone them off if they're trying to make a play. You can also place cones over walls. Look how I can cone the other side of this wall, and the only thing this requires is good crosshair placement. Put your crosshair right above this sweet spot depending on how far away from the wall you are, and then just simply place the cone. You can also hold your cone out and swing them to the right or left to get even more piece control. A tip that's super important for mid-game is so simple, but it's literally to look around you. Beginners have the worst awareness. Too many players that just start playing only think about point A to point B and never look left and right. It's like crossing the street. You gotta check your surroundings more often simply by just walking along wherever you're going, jumping around and looking back and left and right. So look around so that way you don't get beamed. Another mid-game tip is to use the hills and mountains to gain information. One of the best ways to make sure you don't get snuck up on as you're rotating is to randomly go up mountains so that you have higher elevation to see where other players might be. An endgame tip that helped me a lot when I was starting out was using natural cover as a crutch. Not everyone is a professional builder. In endgame, players are close together and there's not much time to think about what binds that you need to press. So you can use trees, rocks, and buildings as additional cover when you box up. When you get a kill, take out your pickaxe as you run over to loot. This will help you pick up anything that you can hold without messing up your inventory. This should definitely be a habit you build while playing. I don't even think about it when I do it. And then afterwards, you could decide if you want anything from the loot. You can also turn on a thing called called hold to swap, and that makes it so if you only have one thing in your inventory, you can hold your pickup bind and it will swap that gun for the current gun that's in your inventory. Always prioritize fast heals. These are things like minis, splashes, fish, anything that will heal you quickly. And when pros drop high kill games, they always use fast heals because that literally makes the fight that much easier. You should get in the habit of placing a wall after you shoot your shotgun. It's a very simple shoot and just place wall. Without even thinking, you should do this because it does two things for you. One, protects you from a return shot, and two, gives you control of the wall that the enemy's probably right in front of. Unfortunately, I can't go around and show you the millions of places on the map where you can't place a wall, but there are places on the map that don't allow you to build. An easy example is when you're on the edge of a roof. Sometimes you're not going to be able to place the wall there. You need to familiarize yourself with spots like this and just literally try not to be in a spot where you can't place builds. This move is one of the most common piece control moves. You could start this by just taking the opponent's wall or walking up to someone that isn't boxed. You place the wall and edit the 4 tiles. Then you immediately place the ramp, and most players are going to shoot you, but the ramp will block that. Then edit the ramp like this and take the shot. This is called a mongrel classic, and I'm going pretty fast because I've been using this move since 2018, but try it out for yourself. One of the most annoying things on Fortnite is when you try to edit a build and it won't work. That's because the game thinks that you're editing the wall instead of editing the cone. So take out your pickaxe or weapon to avoid that, or you have the right build out to edit. So if you're trying to edit a cone, press the cone button, then press the edit button. If I was just starting out, I would turn this setting off. Technically you want it on, but you should turn it off. It's called pre-edits. Pre-edits are when you're holding out your builds and you edit the build before you place it. It leaves the build edited in that way, so every time you place it, it's going to look like that. Top pros use these pre-edits all the time to catch people off guard, but you don't need it starting out, and it's only going to get you in trouble because I guarantee you're going to mess up with it. A couple other settings you should check is to have mantle activation set to hold jump, and the same for hurdle activation. Then make sure turbo building is on. It should be set already, but just double check. For controller players, I definitely recommend turning on reset building choice. This makes it so that your wall is always the first build whenever you press your switch mode. Have you ever edited a wall on a ramp and you're struggling to get it closed? The best way to handle this is to take out your wall and simply scroll wheel reset it, or if you're on controller, just normally reset. Let me tell you, it's definitely easier on keyboard, but you could do it on controller too. You should practice this occasionally to make sure that the muscle memory is there, and you just gotta make sure you're looking in the right spot. So if it's ever not working, just know you're probably too close or looking in the wrong direction. Rank will never matter on Fortnite. I promise the best players in the world do not care what rank they are. They only care about their level, because when pros try to play with other pros, they see how much they're grinding based on the level they are. It's definitely a cool tool to see where you pair up against normal players, but spending 6 hours a day sitting in a bush don't mean squat, and anyone can do that. Instead, use rank to practice your fights without getting scared. That's going to be the best way to prepare you for random things that happen in fights and stuff that you're going to learn from as you play. If you want to add a move to your bag, you should learn how to pre-fire. Pros do this all the time. A pre-fire is shooting someone at the exact moment you think someone's going to break your build. You time it perfectly to get damage on someone and make it so they can't shoot you back. The most common one is when a player tries to pickaxe your wall twice. You just time your shotgun on a second swing and get a heavy pump. I always talk about this when I'm trying to teach people how to double edit or triple edit. You can increase the time you're on a ramp by curving your movement as you go up. Instead of just running straight at double edits, which is way harder, I'll walk diagonally across the ramp from left to right or right to left, and then I'll try to do the edit. This gives me more time to edit, and this is also working with walls as well. So if you're a slow editor, walk around and not at the edit. This piece control move is so useful, and it doesn't require crazy mechanics. I talked about using cones earlier. This is another move with cones. You take the wall on an enemy, then edit the window right away, then place a cone in the box and close the edit. And it's a super safe way to get piece control. Then you can re-edit the wall any way you like to set up a peak and get some damage. You can place cones through people's builds. This only works for cones, by the way. Say the player's boxed up above me but doesn't have a cone in his box, I can go underneath and place a cone through his floor. They have to be in the air, and you just look right under their wall, and then in a certain sweet spot you'll be able to place the cone in there. Good practice if you're not looking to fight anyone. Don't break the trees when you're rotating around in the map. Leave the trees one hit because the sound they make when they break are very loud and people can hear them from far away. Not only hear but see them break as well. So try to leave things at 50 HP, and remember that your pickaxe does 75 damage each swing, 150 on a circle. Let's talk about tactical sprinting and how to use it. First, you should make sure your binds are set up so that you can easily tag sprint whenever you want. You want it on a bind that won't mess with your movement. Tab lock and shift are pretty good, as well as any other button you can press with your pinky. For controller players, this isn't as simple. The best options without paddles is either down on the joystick or any sort of D-pad, one that is most comfortable for you. When using tag sprint, you always want to try to save a little bit of energy or stamina. The bar right above your health shows how much you have left, by the way. So sprint until there's a little left. The reason you have a little extra is just in case another player jumps you out of nowhere, because in a fight, tag sprinting away or towards someone on a peak is one of the most useful things. I always tell players to do this if they struggle hitting the circles while they're farming. Hitting the circles get you more materials faster, so you get more materials per hit. For those of you guys who can't hit the circles, shove your face right in front of the thing you're trying to break, and the circle will always be in the same spot every time, so you'll hit it all the time. I want you to play aggressively. There is no reason to play ranked sitting in a bush. Whether you're playing OG ranked or reload or whatever, push players and get practice in uncomfortable situations. There's so many variables in Fortnite that experience is one of the only ways you're going to get really good at the game. And you're definitely not going to get better by farm and placement. I'll tell you that right now. Only do that in tourneys. Speaking of bushes, always shoot or build over them. When you shoot a bush, just throw a shotgun shot right in the center. And if you get damaged, you know someone's inside that and they're probably trash. You can also place a stair in there and hold the edit to see if anyone's below it. And the easiest way to spot someone in a bush is by looking directly above it. So if you build up and look down, you're probably going to see them. I'm sure you have all gotten into a fight and you switch to a different weapon and there's no ammo in it. We've all done it. It's cool. You need to get in the habit of cycling through your weapons more so that you know what's reloaded and what's not. This is especially important before you are approaching and sneaking on someone. Make sure everything has full ammo before you start the fight. This is really important during late game, but you can use this at any stage. You should always try to multitask while healing. In late game, it's important because you can't organize your loot, look at the map, or even scout through your builds. Here's an example. I win this fight, but I take some damage. I boxed up on top of the loot and start healing. There's better weapons on the body, so as I'm popping my heals, I go into my inventory, drop the gun, and pick up the other thing I want while popping the big. All about that time saving. Combining tactical sprint with sliding is a great way to save your stamina. You can start sprinting, then slide to save that momentum and try to keep it going. Then you can start sprinting again. It kind of looks spammy, but it has a good purpose, and it also makes you harder to hit. If you haven't played in a while and you're just starting to play again, welcome back. Secondly, the mechanics now are crazy compared to the OG days. Whenever you jump off the ledge of a build, there's now a super jump, and it allows you to jump even further. This is a normal jump. Then I get rid of this floor and watch how I sprint and jump. It looks cool and it's super useful when you side jump. This is the most simple retake you can learn as a beginner. Build out high walls to your right or left, then place a ramp over your head while ramping up. Once you get going, you can place the walls in front of you and then edit through the wall, and then repeat. Practice building the walls on either side of the player and move faster as you put in reps. There's a ton of ways you can do this. I can jump up and flip the ramp, or I can edit out the side. Another thing every player should be able to do is tarp. This is building a tunnel that you can move through. The easiest one is something called a half tarp. That's where you're only placing 2 floors and 1 wall, and it looks like this. You build a floor, then look to your left or your right, and then just place the wall and rep that out. Don't hold your builds on this one, because if you do, you're going to end up placing a wall in front of you and it's going to mess you up. So place the floors, let go of the build bind, then place the wall down. Practice doing it on both sides too. When you're boxing up fighting someone, you always want to choose the best position. When you first start playing, it's not something you think about. So I want to box up on the left and have the player be on my diagonal right. Then you edit out your right wall and not the left one, so you have a right hand peek. Plus, it makes the opponent probably open a crappy edit. This is a good habit to have every time you want to set up a box fight. You're going to have that muscle memory down. You'll hear the term blueprint edits if you listen to enough Fortnite talk. It's a very useful tool. Holding your builds out when you make an edit will allow you to edit the wall from a box away. This is something that pros do all the time. The most common scenario is just boxed up next to someone, and all you have to do is just spray the wall, take it from a box away, and then edit it from a box away. Make a wide edit and start spraying. This sounds like the most common sense thing, but I know some of you need to hear this. You don't have to make every edit as quickly as possible. Sometimes it's actually better to hold an edit for a second or two before you open it to really make sure you're behind that peak. A player that drops down on your wall with his shotgun out is going to be able to shoot you right away. So you can delay the edit slightly to throw his timing off. A drill that I used when I was just getting started was editing through a wall just like this. Then I'd reset it and do the same thing from the other side. I'd run in circles and just practice this edit. It helps you get used to several different binds at once and also helps with your movement too. You should practice building the muscle memory from doing the edit from bottom to top. That way you're lined up in the perfect spot for a 200 pump when you complete the edit. Reload didn't exist when I first started making these 100 tip videos. Now it's one of the most fun ways to play the game. You get to practice all the regular aspects of Battle Royale, but you're in a condensed area and there's respawns. Reload and creative are probably the only things I'd play, and make sure you try out my reload map. The code is going to be at the top of the description. When I was at my best, I was playing creative like half the day just working on the things I sucked at. It helps you improve way faster than just playing the game. You probably hear a ton of different tips on window edits. Don't edit this window, never make this window edit. The real tip is that they are all useful. The middle window is the biggest window, so it might make it easier to piece control that way. Oh yeah, and you can and should edit through a window when doing any sort of piece control. When you want to take a shotgun shot though, it's typically better to do the far right one instead. This is a double edit drill that I would do every day when practicing my double edits. So you run out this way and place a floor and cone on your right. Edit through the floor and cone, then place walls on the two far walls. Then place a cone and repeat. I know this is a beginner guide, but you're going to survive more often if you could put your enemy in between you and the third party. I'm fighting this guy right here. Then someone starts shooting me from behind while I'm fighting this dude. What I do is get on the other side so that way that guy is the one getting sprayed in the back and not me. I'm sure this has happened to you before, so now you're going to know how to avoid it. Your jumps are limited to 3 times in a row. After the third jump, you don't jump very high and your character starts to get sluggish. That's called jump fatigue. Remember that because it ruins your momentum and just screws up everything. The building grid is hard to keep track of, and sometimes you're not in the perfect spot when you start to build. The easiest way to place a wall in front of you is to always look down or directly up, and it's going to place like almost right on your face. And even if you're right on the edge of a box, it's going to work too. Whenever you get into a fight, you want to make sure that you're using hard mats. They have more HP and it discourages third parties from shooting at you, and that way you can just focus on what you're doing. Players don't want to stand there just spraying walls forever. It's super boring. This also gives you a stronger base to return to if you're fighting somewhere else and then you come back to old builds. Pros do that all the time when the fights get really sweaty. An early game tip that will give you a nice advantage is to get on top of buildings when you have a good loadout. When you finish looting, just make sure you go up a sneaky way so no one sees you from the front. And this will help you overlook the POI and tell you where to go to next, or just see if there's anyone else that's looted any other buildings. The exploit you all need to know is how to do a ramp phase. It looks like this. I time my pickaxe right when I jump into the box. Now you need to make sure you have a ramp or a cone behind you that's edited into a stair, and then you just try to time it and get used to it. Do it as many times as you can until you can do it perfectly. The point is that you want to time it when your head hits the top. That way you can get pushed through that wall. As you start learning piece control, you should know that you don't have to be in the center of a window edit to get all the builds you want to place. If you stand slightly to the left, you can get both of the two walls placed through the window edit and still be protected. It's a great habit to try to practice through window edits and making sure that you're behind a peak even while piece controlling. One of the most basic moves in Fortnite is the 90. There are 50 variations to do this, but here are the best 2. First is the basic 90. To start, you want to be on the opposite side of the ramp that you are turning. Then turn while holding your walls. This should place 4 walls, by the way. Once you turn 90 degrees, that's where the name comes from. Jump and place a floor in a ramp. Full speed, it looks like this. Make sure you're placing the floor because that way you get extra support. You can do 3 of these in a row, but remember the jump fatigue. The other 90s you should learn is no jump 90s. This is the exact same thing, but this time you're not jumping and it's more focused on your movement. It's just perfect timing. A great phase technique that any player can use when fighting is the stair phase. This used to be super popular back in chapter 2, but it's not used much now. The only difference is that players are just way more aware of it now. Say you're in a box with a ramp in it. Stand on the very edge back of the box and then just edit the stair and you're going to be phasing it. Make sure you don't jump, just stand there and pop your shot. Then the unphased jump up and it blocks their shot. This is one that most players don't do, but you're going to see how useful this actually is. It's making sure you warm up. No matter what you're doing, you should always make sure you're warming up in free builds or creative or something. Get your eye-hand coordination all paired up and not like a 50-year-old man. All it takes is about 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know why everyone's afraid of the storm. Yes, I know it damages you, but it's only 1 damage per tick, and almost all the times you can heal in the storm and get max loot and come out stacked. Sometimes if there's a lot of people around you, you can just go into the storm and loot, and make sure you just gather some white heals along the way. You're gonna come out way better than you did if you were to just rotate in normally. This is the only tip that you don't need Fortnite for. You should be watching a lot of pros or people who you think are way better at the game than you. A lot of the top players stream, and that's probably where you're gonna watch most of it, or from a YouTube video. This gives you insights on what they do when they're in pressure situations, and it tells you how to act. If you don't know what to improve on, try to learn one move from a pro at a time. A great habit to get into while fighting someone is to always be reloading as you're fighting. When you're running up a ramp, you're in the middle of a box fight, hit a quick reload every time. If you watch any pro, they're always doing this, so make sure you are too. I want you to look at fights in Fortnite like a chess match. You're not only trying to beat the opponent mechanically, but mentally as well. There are tons of ways you can do that. Number 1 is by annoying the shit out of them. But really, you should be trying to switch up the type of peaks that you're taking in these fights. Work on making yourself more unpredictable and don't always do the same move because they're gonna counter it. A lot of moves I show you are done in creative. They're good to know how to do, but sometimes you don't always have the materials to pull them off. So you need to learn how to conserve mats in your fights, and you should be like aware of that while you're fighting. The best way to do that is to become accurate with placing builds and don't overbuild. When you start out, it's gonna be hard, but as you improve, you're gonna realize that that's something you really need to take care of. Another way to save mats is to use old builds or use natural cover, and and it will help you out more than not. A lot of these tips are about pickaxing the walls or builds, but most of the time you want to use a combination of shooting the wall and pickaxing it. Whether it's pumping the wall or shooting it with your AR to get it weak and then pickaxe swinging. This season the pump happens to do a lot of damage, so it's useful to use your shotgun. Shoot a wood wall, then pickaxe it, and chances are you're grabbing it. It also makes yourself hard to predict and makes you seem more scary. It's also the mental part of Fortnite to get people to stay in their box. Fortnite has a game mechanic where players' weapons will reload after they die and drop them. So if you get a kill but don't have any ammo, what you could do is pick up the opponent's weapon, and sometimes I do that just to save time. This is also useful if you need to reload quickly and you see a shotgun, you pick it up and you can fight the third party. Not every edit is made to take a shot. Sometimes you want to fake out the opponent by making a wide edit but then resetting it quick so that they shoot their shotgun and then you can get a shot off yourself. Drone players starting out will always shoot when they think that it's a wide edit. Just make sure that you hold the wall after they break the wall so that way it's yours. This is something that players don't do enough of, and it's crouching when you're shooting your AR. When you crouch, it drastically improves your AR accuracy. Unless there's a red dot on your weapon, then it doesn't matter. Any weapon with bloom is going to be way more accurate when you crouch though. Too many players, especially new ones, get trigger happy and just shoot people the second they see them. If you see a player and they don't see you, it's often better to just wait and get closer and really get a beam. Typically your first shot won't be your best one. Try to catch them farming or really opening a chest, because that's when they stand still. Please don't try this if the player sees you already. At that point, you are just stupid. Another simple retake that you should learn is the cone flip. You build high walls and then place a cone, and then you edit the cone so that you can go through it, then edit it again so you can run up it. Place the high walls in the cone and repeat again. It's not the best retake in the game, but it does give you a strong base, at least to start. Remember that all pros know every retake, so it doesn't hurt to learn. This will come naturally with playing and fighting, so there's no way to practice it. Get comfortable learning how to read your opponent. Sometimes you can see what they're doing, but ask yourself, did you hear them shooting their shotgun? Did you hear them healing? This kind of questions can help you understand what's going on during the fight and put you in a better spot to maybe pressure them. Really pay attention to visual sound effects in your fight, because the footsteps will tell you the direction that they're in. Another tac sprint tip is to farm while it's recharging. So run from one object to the next and let it charge while you farm. This makes your timing way more efficient. You can move faster with the sprinting, but also gain material while it reloads. Wait for your stamina to fully recharge before you sprint again. If you start running before it fully charges, then it stops where it is and delays you from getting full charging again. In order to maximize your sprinting, you should wait for it to come back so that way you can have a longer duration while you sprint. When you're attacking someone's box from a ramp, you need to make sure that you don't get coned. It's pretty common to drop down on someone's wall by placing a stair in front of their box. Well, your opponent knows that too. So what they try to do is edit out and put a cone above your head. To avoid this, just stand on the top of the ramp, and if they try to place a cone, you're just going to phase above it. You can actually break builds that you didn't expect. I'll show you how to get both the wall and the floor. The floor is pretty simple though. You see this one horizontal piece of wood, you want to hit that. And you can also break walls from the top of a box. If you find the right angle, you can hit the build and break it and try to replace it. For tip 100, I'm going to need you to use code KenBeans. If you're a real one to this series, you know I always have my plugs on the 100th tip. If you made it this far in the video, you're really looking to get better at Fortnite, because that's crazy. Just keep your head up, grind every day, and do me a solid. If you go onto any of my maps, make sure you hit the favorite button. That helps it out a ton. And hopefully there will be another 100 tip video. Let me know your ideas for that down below so I know which one to do next. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.